Marcus Chen had always been told he was ordinary. Growing up on the mining colony of Kepler 442b, he spent his days fixing broken equipment and his nights staring at the stars, wondering what lay beyond the endless void. His teachers called him average. His parents called him reliable. His friends called him lucky to have a job at all. None of them knew that Marcus would one day shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The morning everything changed started like any other. Marcus was elbow deep in the guts of a plasma drill when his communicator crackled to life. The voice belonged to Director Walsh, the colony administrator who rarely spoke to maintenance workers. "Chen, get to the communication center. Now." Marcus wiped his hands on his coveralls and jogged across the dusty compound. The communication center buzzed with activity. Technicians hunched over screens displaying data streams that made no sense to him. Director Walsh stood in the center of it all, her face pale as moon dust. "Sir, you wanted to see me?" Walsh turned, her eyes wide with something between excitement and terror. "Marcus, you studied xenobiology before you came here, didn't you?" "A little, sir. Just basic courses at the academy. That makes you the closest thing we have to an expert." She gestured to the main display screen. "We received this transmission 2 hours ago." The screen flickered to life, showing what appeared to be a star map. But the constellations were wrong, twisted into patterns that hurt to look at. Strange symbols pulsed along the edges, accompanied by sounds that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the brain. "It's a first contact protocol," Walsh continued. "The Galactic Council has made contact with humanity." Marcus felt his knees go weak. The Galactic Council was legend, whispered about in academy classes and late-night documentaries, an ancient civilization that supposedly governed the galaxy, maintaining order among thousands of species. Most humans believed they were myth. They're real? Very real. And they want to meet with a human representative. Walsh's voice dropped. "They specifically requested someone from this colony. Why here? We're nobody special." "That's exactly why." She pulled up another screen, showing dense text in multiple languages. "According to their message, they've been watching humanity for decades. They've observed our major colonies, our governments, our military leaders, but they want to speak with someone they call typical humanity. Someone who represents what we really are, not what we pretend to be." Marcus stared at the alien text, trying to process what he was hearing. "And they picked me?" "They didn't pick you specifically. They picked this colony, then asked us to choose our most representative citizen. The council voted unanimously." Walsh's expression softened slightly. "They said you embody what they're looking for. Honest work, practical thinking, no political agenda. I fix mining equipment for a living." "Exactly." Walsh handed him a datapad. "You leave in 6 hours. A council ship will meet you at the rendezvous point in the Vega system." Marcus scrolled through the mission details, his head spinning. Transport to an orbital platform. First contact with beings whose technology was thousands of years ahead of humanity's. Negotiations that could determine the future of his entire species. What am I supposed to negotiate? I don't know anything about politics or diplomacy. Read the briefing. "But Marcus?" Walsh gripped his shoulder. "Just be yourself." That's what they asked for. The shuttle ride to the rendezvous point gave Marcus time to study the council files. What he learned made his stomach churn with anxiety. The Galactic Council consisted of 12 ancient species, each one having achieved interstellar civilization when Earth was still covered in ice. They maintained order through something called the Capability Assessment Protocol. Every species that achieved faster-than-light travel was tested, evaluated, and assigned a role in galactic society. The files contained assessments of dozens of species. The Zephyrians were deemed excellent administrators and managed trade routes. The Korthak were natural warriors and served as peacekeepers. The Melodi were gifted artists and maintained cultural archives. Each species had found their niche, their purpose in the grand design of galactic civilization. But humanity had been ignored for decades, despite achieving FTL travel 50 years ago. The Council's preliminary reports labeled humans as inconsequential and lacking distinctive capabilities. FTL travel. Marcus read that last phrase 3 times. Lacking distinctive capabilities. Is that really what they thought of his species? The rendezvous point appeared as a dot of light that grew into a massive structure. The orbital platform stretched for kilometers, its surface covered in architectural styles that blended dozens of different aesthetic traditions. Ships of impossible designs docked at ports carved from what looked like crystallized starlight. Marcus's shuttle was guided to a small docking bay by invisible hands. As he stepped off the vessel, artificial gravity adjusted to match Earth normal. The air smelled faintly of ozone, and something else he couldn't identify. A figure approached from the shadows of the docking bay. It stood roughly humanoid in shape, but moved with fluid grace that suggested boneless limbs. Its skin shifted colors like oil on water, and its face bore features that seemed familiar yet utterly alien. "Welcome, human Marcus Chen." The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Coordinator Thys of the Melody. I will guide you to the assessment chamber." Marcus followed Thys through corridors that defied geometry. The walls curved in directions his eyes couldn't track, and doorways opened onto rooms that seemed larger inside than outside. They passed beings of every conceivable shape and size. Some floated rather than walked. Others moved on appendages that might have been legs, tentacles, or something else entirely. "Nervous?" Thys asked, its voice carrying musical undertones. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. "Good. Fear indicates wisdom. The assessment is not merely ceremony. It determines your species' future role in galactic civilization." "Over." Wezikated per Prama. They entered a vast circular chamber dominated by a crescent-shaped table. 12 beings sat behind it, each representing one of the council species. Marcus recognized some from his briefing files, but seeing them in person made his academic knowledge feel inadequate. At the center sat a being that seemed to be made of living crystal. Light refracted through its body in patterns that suggested vast intelligence. This had to be an elder of the Axiom, the Council's founding species. Human Marcus Chen, the crystal being spoke with a voice like distant thunder. "I am Prime Adjudicator Zethara. We have observed your species for many of your generations. Today, we determine where humanity fits in the galactic order." Marcus stepped forward, acutely aware of how small and primitive he must appear to these ancient beings. "Thank you for this opportunity. I'll do my best to represent my people." Indeed, Zethara's form pulsed with light. "We have developed comprehensive assessments for all council species: physical capabilities, intellectual capacity, technological innovation, social organization, military potential, artistic expression. Each species excels in particular areas, allowing them to contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization." The adjudicator gestured, and holographic displays materialized around the chamber. Charts and graphs showed the capabilities of various species. The Korthak scored highest in military metrics. The Zephyrians dominated trade and economics. The Vorthok excelled in scientific research. "Your species presents a puzzle," Zethara continued. "Humans score moderately in all categories, but excel in none. You are adequate warriors, but not exceptional. Decent scientists, but not brilliant. Fair traders, but not masterful. In every measure, you rank in the middle percentiles." Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. "We're a young species. We're still learning. Age is not the issue." The Korthak achieved their current military rating within 2 centuries of first contact. The Melody displayed their artistic gifts immediately upon joining the council. Distinctive capabilities manifest early. Another council member leaned forward. This one resembled a massive spider made of liquid metal. "Human Chen, we must ask directly. What can your species offer that no other can provide?" The question hung in the air like a physical weight. Marcus looked around the chamber at beings whose civilizations spanned millennia. What could humanity possibly offer them? "I don't know," he said finally. "I'm just a maintenance worker from a mining colony. I fix things when they break." "Precisely the problem," said a third council member. This one, a being of pure energy contained within a shifting geometric form. No distinctive capability. No unique contribution. No specialized role. Zethara's form pulsed again. The Council faces a difficult decision. Species without clear purpose often struggle to integrate into galactic civilization. Some have requested restricted status, limiting their expansion and contact with other worlds. Others have chosen isolation, returning to their home systems until they develop marketable capabilities. Marcus felt the weight of his species' future pressing down on him. Millions of humans living their lives across dozens of worlds, unaware that their freedom might be decided by a maintenance worker's words. "May I ask something?" Marcus said. "Speak. How do you determine these distinctive capabilities? What tests do you use?" Zethara gestured again, and new displays appeared. Comprehensive analysis. Combat simulations for military assessment. Problem-solving scenarios for intellectual evaluation. Cultural artifact examination for artistic judgment. Each species is measured against established parameters. Marcus studied the displays, his engineer's mind automatically looking for patterns and flaws. The tests were impressive, thorough, and completely artificial. Have you ever seen humans work together on a real problem? Not in a simulation, but facing an actual crisis? Simulations provide controlled environments for accurate measurement, the energy being replied. Real-world scenarios contain too many variables for precise assessment. But that's exactly why they matter, Marcus said, his confidence growing as he found his footing. Anyone can solve a puzzle when they know it's a puzzle. Real problems don't come with instructions or predetermined solutions. The spider-like being made a sound like grinding metal. Explain. Marcus took a breath, thinking of his life on Kepler 442b. 6 months ago, our main atmospheric processor failed. Total system breakdown, something the manufacturers said was impossible. We had maybe 48 hours before the air became unbreathable. He gestured as he spoke, his hands moving in the unconscious patterns of someone used to explaining technical concepts. The Zephyrian technicians who designed the system said it couldn't be repaired. They wanted to evacuate the colony and build a new processor, which would take years. The Vorthak scientists ran models proving that any jury-rigged solution would fail catastrophically. "And yet you survived," Zethara observed, "because we didn't listen to the experts." We had a geologist who noticed that the failure pattern matched soil erosion patterns. A chef who knew about chemical reactions from cooking. A kindergarten teacher who understood how to coordinate group activities. A dozen different people with different backgrounds, all working on pieces of a problem, none of them fully understood. Marcus's voice grew stronger as he remembered the desperate creativity of those 2 days. The solution we came up with violated every engineering principle in the manual. It used parts from children's toys, cooking equipment, and mining explosives. The Zephyrians called it impossible. The Vorthak called it insane. But it worked. He looked directly at Zethara. That's what humans do. We improvise. We adapt. We take broken things and find ways to make them work, even when all the experts say it can't be done. The chamber fell silent. The council members exchanged glances, communications, or whatever passed for discussion among their species. "Interesting," the energy being finally said. "But anecdotal. One example does not demonstrate species-wide capability." "It's not one example," Marcus replied. "It's what we do. Every human colony has stories like this. Impossible repairs, crazy solutions, making do with what we have instead of what we need. You want to know what makes humans distinctive? We're the species that fixes things that aren't supposed to be fixable." Zethara's form shifted through several color spectrums. "This improvisation. You believe this is humanity's unique contribution? I believe it's one of them. You have species that excel at building things, fighting things, studying things, creating things. But what happens when those things break in ways nobody predicted? When all the manuals are wrong, and all the experts are stumped? That's when you need humans." The spider being clicked its limbs in a rhythmic pattern. "The council will consider your words, human Chen. But understand, claiming a capability requires demonstration. If humanity wishes to be recognized as galactic problem solvers, you must prove this ability. How? Zethara's form brightened. Tomorrow, you will face the designation trial. A scenario designed to test your claimed specialty. If you succeed, humanity will be granted full council membership with the role of crisis resolution specialists. If you fail, the adjudicator's voice carried undertones of finality. Failure will result in humanity being classified as a dependent species, subject to council oversight and guidance, until such time as you develop genuine, distinctive capabilities. Marcus felt the familiar flutter of panic in his chest, but pushed it down. He'd spent his life making impossible things work. Tomorrow, he'd have to do it one more time, with the future of humanity hanging in the balance. I understand, he said. What's the scenario? And Aller? You will learn tomorrow. For now, Coordinator Thys will show you to quarters where you may rest and prepare. Zethara's form began to dim. Sleep well. Human Marcus Chen. Tomorrow, you prove whether your species deserves a place among the stars or should remain in the shadows of greater civilizations. As Thys led him from the chamber, Marcus caught sight of a display showing Earth from orbit, billions of humans going about their daily lives, unaware that a maintenance worker from a mining colony was about to determine their species' destiny. He thought about atmospheric processors and impossible repairs, about problems that shouldn't have solutions and humans who found them anyway. Tomorrow, he would either validate everything he'd said about his species or doom them to galactic obscurity. The corridor stretched ahead, alien and imposing, but Marcus walked with steady steps. After all, he was human. When things broke, humans fixed them, even when they weren't supposed to be fixable. Marcus spent the night in quarters that defied his understanding of physics. The walls displayed what Thys called calming vistas from dozens of worlds, creating an impossible panorama of alien sunsets and crystal forests. Despite the strangeness, or perhaps because of it, he slept better than he had in weeks. He woke to find a meal waiting that somehow tasted like his mother's cooking despite being prepared by alien technology. The coffee was perfect, which seemed more miraculous than faster than light travel. Thys arrived as Marcus finished eating. The council awaits. Are you prepared? No, Marcus said honestly. But I'm ready. The assessment chamber had been transformed overnight. The crescent table remained, but the floor now contained a complex three-dimensional maze of platforms, barriers, and mechanical devices. Screens showed readouts in languages Marcus couldn't read, and the air hummed with barely contained energy. Behold the Kepler Station crisis, Zethara announced as Marcus entered. A scenario constructed from our databases of galactic emergencies. The chamber darkened, and holographic projections filled the space around the maze. Marcus found himself seemingly standing on the bridge of a massive space station. Through the viewports, he could see a binary star system. One star normal and bright, the other a dark companion barely visible except for its gravitational effects. Kepler Station serves as a research outpost and trade hub, Zethara continued. Population: 47,000 beings from 17 species. Current crisis: the dark companion star has begun exhibiting quantum fluctuations, destabilizing local space-time. The holographic displays lit up with warning indicators. Marcus watched as gravitational readings spiked and energy readings fluctuated wildly. Even with his limited astrophysics knowledge, he could see this was catastrophic. The station's quantum stabilizers have failed, a Korthak council member added, its voice like grinding stone. Without stabilization, the space-time distortions will tear the station apart within 6 hours. Marcus studied the readouts, trying to understand the scope of the problem. What would normally be done in this situation? Evacuation, replied the spider-like being he'd learned was called Archivist Veltar. Standard protocol calls for immediate population transfer to emergency vessels and abandonment of the facility. But the quantum fluctuations prevent faster-than-light travel within a radius of 10 light hours, Zethara explained. Emergency vessels would take 17 hours to reach the nearest safe harbor. The population would die before reaching safety. Marcus nodded slowly, pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. And the other solutions? The Vorthak attempted to recalibrate the quantum stabilizers, the energy being chimed with harmonic frequencies. Their calculations indicate a 97.3% probability of catastrophic failure, resulting in the creation of an artificial black hole. The Zephyrians proposed economic solutions. Another council member added, massive resource expenditure to construct temporary stabilizers. Timeline: 14 hours minimum. Number 4. 14 hours minimum. The Korthak suggested strategic orbital bombardment to destabilize the companion star's quantum field, the stone-voiced warrior continued. This would eliminate the threat but also destroy the station and everyone aboard. Marcus felt a familiar sensation. The same mixture of panic and focus that came when facing impossible repairs on Kepler 442b. So standard solutions either take too long, are too dangerous, or don't address the core problem. Precisely, Zethara said. Now, human Marcus Chen, demonstrate your species' claimed ability. You have access to all station resources, full technical specifications, and complete environmental data. Show us this improvisation that makes humans unique. Marcus stepped into the maze, and the holographic environment expanded around him. He felt as though he truly stood on the station's bridge, with real gravity beneath his feet and recycled air in his lungs. The sensory detail was so complete he could smell the ozone from overloaded electrical systems. He moved to the central console and began pulling up technical specifications. The station was a marvel of engineering, incorporating technologies from a dozen species. Zephyrian computing systems managed trade logistics. Vorthak quantum processors handled scientific research. Korthak defensive systems provided security. Melody environmental systems maintained life support for multiple species. Show me the quantum stabilizer arrays, Marcus said aloud. Holographic schematics appeared in the air around him. The stabilizers were elegant pieces of technology, using controlled quantum entanglement to maintain local space-time stability. The theory was beyond his understanding, but the engineering looked familiar. Redundant systems, fail-safe protocols, diagnostic subroutines. What caused the failure? He asked. Cascade resonance failure, replied an automated system voice. The dark companion star's quantum fluctuations created a feedback loop in the primary stabilizer array. The feedback destroyed the quantum entanglement matrices and burned out the containment fields. Marcus studied the damage reports. The primary arrays were completely destroyed. Their exotic matter containment fields collapsed. Their quantum processing cores fried. The backup systems had automatically shut down to prevent similar cascade failures. Are the backup systems still functional? Affirmative. Backup quantum stabilizer arrays remain intact but offline. Reactivation under current conditions would result in immediate cascade failure. Stabilizer affirmative quantum stabilizer arrays. Reactivation, classic engineering problem, Marcus thought. The equipment that could solve the crisis would be destroyed if activated during the crisis, like trying to repair a plasma drill while plasma was actively flowing through it. He walked through the maze, which he now understood represented different sections of the station. Each area contained detailed recreations of actual equipment and systems. In the engineering section, he found teams of holographic aliens, frantically working on various solutions. A group of Vorthak scientists hunched over quantum resonance calculators, their crystalline bodies pulsing with bioluminescent thought patterns. Their leader looked up as Marcus approached. Human, we have calculated 17 possible modifications to the stabilizer arrays. Each carries unacceptable risk of quantum cascade failure. 2. End. What kind of modifications? Frequency adjustments. Power rerouting. Field geometry alterations. Standard engineering solutions. All inadequate for current quantum flux levels. Marcus nodded and moved on. In the Trade Logistics Center, Zephyrian administrators worked at flowing, organic-looking consoles that seemed to grow from the floor. Human person, one called out, its voice carrying musical harmonics. We have identified sufficient resources for emergency stabilizer construction. Materials available. Manufacturing facilities operational. Timeline remains problematic. Timeline remains problematic. 14 hours minimum? 12, if we sacrifice manufacturing protocols and safety margins. Still insufficient. The security center buzzed with Korthak activity. Warriors in powered armor studied tactical displays showing the companion star's gravitational fields. Human Chen, their leader, rumbled. Orbital bombardment could destabilize the quantum fluctuations. Controlled nuclear detonations at precise coordinates might disrupt the resonance pattern. Might? 67% probability of success, 33% probability of accelerated station destruction. Marcus absorbed all this information as he completed his circuit of the maze. Standard solutions. Fix the broken equipment, build new equipment, or destroy the source of the problem. All inadequate because of timing, risk, or both. He returned to the central console and stared at the quantum stabilizer schematics. The arrays required quantum entanglement matrices to function, contained within exotic matter fields, powered by controlled fusion reactions, and coordinated by quantum processing cores. Computer, show me everything else on the station that uses quantum entanglement. New schematics appeared. The faster-than-light communication systems used quantum entanglement to maintain instantaneous contact with other stations. The scientific research labs used quantum entanglement for experimental analysis. Even some of the entertainment systems used quantum fields for holographic recreation. What about quantum resonance? What else on the station generates or uses quantum resonance? More schematics. The Melody environmental systems used quantum resonance to precisely control atmospheric mixtures for different species. The food preparation systems used quantum resonance to break down and recombine molecular structures. The medical bays used quantum resonance for cellular regeneration therapy. Marcus stared at the displays, his mind making connections that had nothing to do with official training. On Kepler 442b, when the atmospheric processor failed, they'd used parts from children's toys because the toys had simple, robust mechanisms that could be repurposed. The official repair parts were too complex and too fragile for jury-rigged solutions. Computer, can you show me the simplest quantum device on the station? Clarification. Define simplest. Fewest components, most basic function, most robust design. A new schematic appeared. Marcus laughed out loud. It was a quantum music synthesizer from the Melody Entertainment Quarter. The device used basic quantum resonance to generate harmonic frequencies that could be appreciated by multiple species simultaneously. The synthesizer was basically a quantum tuning fork. It created stable, simple quantum fields that resonated at precise frequencies. Nothing elegant or sophisticated. Just reliable quantum resonance generation. How many of these music synthesizers are on the station? 247 units currently online. Marcus felt the familiar surge of excitement that came when an impossible problem suddenly became merely difficult. He called up the station's manufacturing specifications and began calculating. Computer, I need you to model something for me. What happens if we link 200 quantum music synthesizers in a resonance network? Processing. Network would generate significant quantum interference. Harmonics would create unpredictable field fluctuations. What if we tune them all to the same frequency and phase-lock their outputs? Processing. Phase-locked network would generate coherent quantum resonance field. Strength would depend on frequency coordination and spatial arrangement. Could a coherent quantum resonance field disrupt the companion star's quantum fluctuations? Long pause. Theoretical possibility. Coherent quantum resonance at appropriate frequency could create interference pattern with stellar quantum fluctuations. Effect would be temporary stabilization rather than elimination of threat. Marcus nodded. Not a permanent fix, but a way to buy time. How long would stabilization last? Not dependent on field strength and frequency precision. Maximum estimated duration, 4 hours. 4 hours. Enough time for the Zephyrians to finish their emergency stabilizer construction. Marcus began pulling up the station's communication systems. Computer, Connect me to all department heads simultaneously. The holographic environment expanded, showing him surrounded by the leaders of every major group on the station: Korthak warriors, Vorthak scientists, Zephyrian administrators, melody artists, and representatives of a dozen other species. "I have a solution," Marcus announced. "It's temporary, but it'll give us enough time to build proper stabilizers." The Vorthak science leader spoke first, their crystalline body flashing with skeptical patterns. "Human, we have calculated all possible quantum interventions. None are viable. You calculated interventions using quantum stabilizer technology. I'm proposing we use quantum musical instruments instead." Silence. Then the melody representative spoke, their voice carrying confused harmonics. "Music synthesizers? Human Chen. Those devices generate simple entertainment frequencies." "Exactly. Simple, robust, and reliable. We're going to link every quantum music synthesizer on the station into a coherent resonance network. The combined field will interfere with the companion star's quantum fluctuations." The Korthak leader made a sound like grinding metal. "Impossible. Musical devices lack the precision and power for quantum stabilization. Individually, yes, but networked together, they create a much larger field, and their simplicity is an advantage. Complex systems fail in complex ways. Simple systems fail in simple ways that can be fixed quickly." Marcus began outlining his plan. The music synthesizers would be repositioned throughout the station to create optimal spatial distribution. The melody would coordinate frequency tuning, using their natural understanding of harmonic resonance. The Zephyrians would handle logistics, moving equipment, and coordinating timing. The Vorthak would provide calculations for optimal frequencies. The Korthak would ensure the work proceeded without interruption. "This violates every principle of quantum engineering," the Vorthak leader protested. "Musical instruments cannot perform stabilization functions." "Why not?" Marcus asked. "They generate quantum fields. Those fields can be coordinated and amplified. The fact that they're designed for entertainment doesn't change their physical properties." He pulled up the calculations on the main display. "Look, we're not trying to build a permanent solution. We're trying to create interference. Like using static to block a radio signal. It doesn't have to be elegant. It just has to work for 4 hours." The chamber fell silent as the various species absorbed his proposal. Marcus could see the council members leaning forward, their attention focused completely on the unfolding scenario. Finally, the melody representative spoke. "Human Chen, this approach is unprecedented, but harmonically sound. We can coordinate the frequency networks. The logistics are manageable," added the Zephyrian administrator. "Moving and repositioning the devices within current timeline parameters. Calculations indicate theoretical viability," the Vorthak leader admitted reluctantly. "Success probability, 43%. Better than any other option we've identified," the Korthak leader rumbled. "We will ensure implementation proceeds without interference." Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Then, let's get started." The next 3 hours passed in a blur of coordinated activity. The holographic environment showed Marcus directing teams across the station as they dismantled entertainment systems and repositioned quantum music synthesizers. The melody worked with elegant precision, their understanding of harmonic resonance allowing them to tune the devices with incredible accuracy. The Zephyrians moved with flowing efficiency, their logistics networks ensuring every piece of equipment reached its designated location. The Vorthak provided constant calculations, refining frequency requirements and power distribution. The Korthak maintained order and security, ensuring that panic didn't interfere with the work. Marcus found himself coordinating between groups that had never worked together before, translating concepts between species with completely different approaches to problem solving. The melody thought in terms of artistic harmony. The Vorthak focused on mathematical precision. The Zephyrians considered efficiency and resource optimization. The Korthak demanded clear hierarchies and defined responsibilities. "Network at 60% implementation," the computer announced. Quantum resonance field building. Companion star fluctuations showing minimal response. We need more coherence, Marcus said. Melody teams, can you tighten the harmonic synchronization? Attempting enhancement, came the musical reply. Frequency drift in sectors 7 through 12, compensating with harmonic overtones. Zephyrian logistics? We need the remaining synthesizers positioned within the next 20 minutes. Acknowledged. Transport teams accelerating deployment schedule. Minor efficiency reductions acceptable for timeline requirements. Vorthak calculations. How are we looking for optimal frequency? Resonance approaching theoretical maximum. Field strength at 72% of calculated requirement. Should achieve stabilization threshold at 90% network implementation. The work continued with desperate intensity. Marcus watched the countdown timer as it approached the critical moment when the quantum fluctuations would become too severe to contain. 4 hours until catastrophic station failure. They were cutting it impossibly close. Network at 90%, the computer announced. Activating coherent quantum resonance field. Marcus felt the station tremble as 200 quantum music synthesizers activated simultaneously. Their outputs phase-locked and frequency-coordinated. The sound was unlike anything he'd ever experienced, a harmony that seemed to resonate in his bones and echo in his thoughts. On the displays, the companion star's quantum fluctuations began to change. The chaotic energy patterns smoothed into more regular oscillations. The gravitational distortions decreased in intensity. Stabilization achieved, the computer announced. Quantum field interference successful. Estimated duration, 3 hours, 47 minutes. Cheers erupted from teams across the station. Marcus felt his knees go weak with relief. They'd done it. The impossible repair, using equipment that wasn't designed for the purpose, coordinating species that barely understood each other's approaches to problem solving. But even as the teams celebrated, Marcus was already thinking ahead. 3 hours and 47 minutes to complete the emergency stabilizer construction. The Zephyrians had estimated 4 hours minimum for their emergency construction project. Zephyrian construction teams, Marcus called over the communication system. How are we looking for the permanent stabilizers? Construction proceeding ahead of schedule due to current stabilization. New estimate. 3 hours? 28 minutes until completion. Marcus felt another surge of relief. They would make it. Barely. But they would make it. As the holographic scenario faded and the assessment chamber returned to normal, Marcus found himself facing the council members once again. Their expressions, insofar as he could read alien expressions, seemed to range from surprise to confusion to something that might have been approval. Interesting, Zethara said, the crystal being's form cycling through several color spectrums. The solution required no advanced technology, no sophisticated engineering, no complex theoretical understanding. It required coordination, Marcus replied. Understanding how different approaches could work together. Seeing possibilities that weren't in the manual. The music synthesizers, archivist Veltar clicked, were never designed for quantum stabilization. Using them for such purposes violates their intended function, but not their actual capabilities. A device that generates quantum fields can be used for any application that needs quantum fields. The original purpose doesn't matter if the underlying physics work, the energy being chimed with complex harmonies. No other species has demonstrated this approach. The Vorthak would have calculated failure probabilities and abandoned the concept. The Korthak would have demanded weapons-grade solutions. The Zephyrians would have focused on resource optimization. The Melody would have been concerned with aesthetic harmony rather than functional application. Maybe that's exactly why it worked, Marcus said. Everyone was thinking like experts in their own fields. I was thinking like someone who fixes broken things with whatever's available. Zethara's form brightened significantly. Human Marcus Chen. The Council has observed your demonstration with great interest. Your approach differed fundamentally from established protocols. Did I pass? The chamber fell silent for a long moment. Then Zethara spoke with what Marcus could have sworn was amusement in the crystal being's voice. Human. You have done something far more significant than passing a test. You have demonstrated a capability that the Council has never encountered in thousands of years of galactic civilization. Marcus felt his heart rate accelerate. What's the verdict? Tomorrow, we present our final decision to the full Galactic Council. Rest well, Marcus Chen. Tomorrow, your species learns its place in the galaxy. Marcus woke before the artificial dawn in his quarters, unable to sleep through the mounting anticipation. Today, the Galactic Council would decide humanity's fate based on his performance with quantum music synthesizers and interdisciplinary cooperation. The irony wasn't lost on him that a maintenance worker from a mining colony might be responsible for defining his species' role among the stars. This arrived with breakfast and an unexpected companion. The figure stood roughly human-sized, but moved with mechanical precision that suggested cybernetic enhancement. Its face bore features that seemed carved from metal and stone, with eyes that glowed like distant stars. This is Architect Prime Zavhan of the Nexus Collective, Thys explained. The Nexus represents the Council's engineering and technical specialists. Zavhan spoke with a voice like grinding gears. Human Chen, I have reviewed your solution to the Kepler station scenario. Your methodology violates established engineering principles. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Had he misunderstood something crucial about the test? I'm sorry if I made errors. I did the best I could with the information available. You misunderstand, Zavhan continued. Violations of established principles are not necessarily failures. The Nexus Collective has spent the night analyzing your approach. We find it illuminating. Thys gestured for them to walk, and they moved through corridors that Marcus was beginning to recognize. The flowing architecture no longer seemed as alien as it had 2 days ago. The Nexus has served as the Council's technical specialists for 7,000 years, Zavhan explained as they walked. We solve engineering problems that individual species cannot address. Our methods rely on advanced theoretical understanding and sophisticated technological application. That sounds like the right approach for most problems, Marcus said carefully. Indeed. But your solution yesterday required neither advanced theory nor sophisticated technology. You use simple devices in ways their creators never intended, coordinated by species thinking in completely different conceptual frameworks. They paused at an observation deck overlooking the station's central hub. Dozens of ships moved through docking procedures managed by beings of various species, each one contributing their specialized expertise to the complex dance of galactic commerce. Human Chen, Zavhan said. The Nexus wishes to ask you a question before the Council convenes. Of course. In your solution, you required the Melody to provide harmonic coordination, the Zephyrians to manage logistics, the Vorthak to perform calculations, and the Korthak to maintain security. Each species contributed according to their established expertise. How did you know to assign these roles? Marcus thought about the question. I didn't assign roles based on expertise. I assigned them based on what needed to be done and who was available to do it. Explain. The Melody understand music and harmony, so they were the natural choice for frequency coordination. The Zephyrians had the logistical systems and personnel to move equipment quickly. The Vorthak had the computational power to calculate optimal parameters. The Korthak had the organization and authority to maintain order during a crisis. You matched capabilities to requirements, Zavhan observed. More than that, I matched the way different species think to different types of problems. The Melody think artistically, which was perfect for creating harmony out of chaos. The Zephyrians think systematically, which was ideal for coordinating complex logistics. The Vorthak think analytically, which was necessary for precise calculations. The Korthak think hierarchically, which was essential for maintaining order. Zavhan's glowing eyes seemed to brighten. You treated species diversity as a resource rather than an obstacle. Why would diversity be an obstacle? Different approaches to the same problem give you more options for solutions, because most species focus on their own methodologies. The Vorthak believe analytical thinking is superior. The Melody believe artistic intuition provides better understanding. The Korthak trust hierarchical organization above other approaches. Each species tends to apply their own methods to every problem. Marcus nodded slowly. But different problems need different approaches. You wouldn't use a hammer to fix a delicate circuit. And you wouldn't use precision instruments to break rocks. Exactly. Human Chen. You have articulated something the Nexus has spent millennia trying to explain to individual council species. Optimal solutions often require combining different methodological approaches. They resumed walking toward the council chamber. Marcus felt nervous energy building in his chest, but also a growing sense of confidence. Maybe he really had demonstrated something unique about humanity. The council chamber had been expanded since yesterday. Representatives from dozens of species filled tiered seating around the central assessment area. Marcus recognized some species from his briefing materials, but many were completely new to him. The diversity was overwhelming. Crystalline beings that refracted light, gaseous entities contained in energy fields, mechanical constructs that might have been artificial intelligences, and organic forms that defied easy categorization. The full Galactic Council, this whispered as they took their positions. Representatives from every member species, plus observers from species under evaluation. At the center of the chamber, the 12-member assessment council took their places behind the crescent table. Zethara's crystal form dominated the center position. Light refracting through the being's structure in complex patterns that suggested deep thought. The council convenes, Zethara announced, the voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. We gather to determine the classification and role assignment for the species known as humanity. The chamber fell silent. Marcus could feel hundreds of alien gazes focused on him, representatives of civilizations that had mastered technologies he could barely comprehend. Human Marcus Chen, Zethara continued. Yesterday you demonstrated a proposed solution to the Kepler station crisis scenario. Your approach differed significantly from established methodologies. We will now review your performance and its implications. Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing replays of Marcus's solution. The assembled beings watched as he coordinated teams of different species, repurposed entertainment equipment for engineering applications, and solved an impossible problem through improvisation and cooperation. When the displays faded, Zethara spoke again. The Assessment Council has deliberated extensively. We have consulted with technical specialists, reviewed historical precedents, and analyzed the broader implications of your demonstrated capabilities. Marcus held his breath. Human Chen, your species presents a unique case in the history of galactic civilization. Most species demonstrate clear specialization. Military prowess, scientific advancement, artistic achievement, technological innovation, or administrative excellence. Humanity appears to excel in none of these traditional categories. Here it comes, Marcus thought. The gentle rejection, the assignment to some lesser role or dependency status. However, Zethara continued, the crystal being's form brightening. Your demonstration reveals capabilities that transcend traditional specialization categories. You have shown what the Council terms adaptive synthesis, the ability to combine disparate elements, methodologies, and perspectives into functional solutions for novel problems. Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. Marcus caught what sounded like surprise, curiosity, and in some cases, skepticism. Adaptive synthesis, the energy being chimed from the Assessment Council, has not been demonstrated by any species in our recorded history. Most civilizations develop along specialized pathways, optimizing their natural capabilities for specific roles in galactic society. Archivist Veltar clicked its mechanical limbs. Humans appear to lack optimization, but compensate through synthesis. Rather than developing superior capabilities in individual areas, they combine adequate capabilities across multiple areas. The implications are significant, rumbled the Korthak representative. Traditional crisis response relies on specialized expertise. Human methodology suggests alternative approaches may exist. Okan, Marcus found his voice. May I say something? May I say something? Zethara gestured for him to continue. I think you're overcomplicating what humans do. We're not trying to replace anyone's expertise. We're just good at making things work when they're supposed to be broken. Every human colony, every human ship, Every human installation has people like me, engineers and technicians and mechanics who keep things running with whatever we have available. He gestured toward the assembled aliens. You have species that build incredible technologies. We're the ones who figure out how to fix them when they break in unexpected ways. You have species that design perfect systems. We're the ones who make them work when conditions aren't perfect. Furthermore, Marcus continued, gaining confidence, we're good at getting different groups to work together. Not because we're natural diplomats, but because we're used to dealing with people who think differently. Human colonies have people from dozens of different backgrounds and cultures working together every day. We've had to learn how to coordinate different approaches to the same problems. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives spoke among themselves in dozens of languages and communication methods. Marcus caught fragments of translated conversation. Debates about specialization versus generalization. Questions about the efficiency of synthesis approaches. Discussions about the implications for established council structures. Zethara raised one crystalline appendage, and the chamber gradually quieted. The council recognizes the significance of human Chen's demonstration. However, classification decisions cannot be based on a single individual's performance. We must consider species-wide capabilities and contributions. Then test us, Marcus said immediately. Silence fell again. Test humanity, Marcus repeated. Give us real problems that need solving. Not simulations or academic exercises, but actual crises where people need help. Let us show you what humans can do when things are really broken. The Korthak Assessment Council member leaned forward. You would subject your species to potential failure on a galactic stage? We would subject our species to the same tests we face every day. Humans have been solving impossible problems since we first figured out how to make fire in the rain. The scale doesn't change the principle. Lodi, Zethara's form cycled through several brilliant color patterns. Human Chen, such testing would be unprecedented. Council classification procedures rely on controlled assessment scenarios. Because controlled scenarios favor specialized approaches, Marcus replied. You can solve any puzzle if you know it's a puzzle and you have the right tools. Real problems don't come with instructions. More discussion erupted among the assembled representatives. Marcus noticed that some species seemed excited by his proposal, while others appeared skeptical or concerned. Finally, Architect Prime Zavhan rose from the observer section. The Nexus Collective supports Human Chen's proposal. We have numerous ongoing crisis scenarios that have resisted conventional solutions. If humanity claims adaptive synthesis capabilities, practical testing would provide definitive evidence. The melody harmonies concur, sang a musical voice from another section. Artistic innovation often requires synthesis of disparate elements. We would welcome collaboration with species demonstrating such capabilities. Axe for mace. Axe for maize. Axe for maize. Axe for maize. The Zephyrian trade networks approve, added a flowing, harmonic voice. Logistics optimization benefits from flexible methodological approaches. We support practical evaluation. More voices joined the discussion. Not universal approval, but significant support from multiple major council species. Zethara waited for the discussion to subside before speaking. The Assessment Council recognizes the unprecedented nature of this situation. Human Chen, your proposal requests practical demonstration rather than theoretical evaluation. Yes, such demonstration would require temporary provisional status for your species. Humanity would be granted limited council membership, with the understanding that final classification depends on performance during real crisis scenarios. Marcus felt his heart racing. What does that mean, practically? It means, Zethara explained, that humanity would be designated as emergency response specialists, with authority to coordinate crisis interventions using adaptive synthesis methodologies. You would work directly with the Nexus Collective to address ongoing galactic emergencies that have resisted conventional solutions. And if we succeed, full council membership with permanent status as crisis resolution specialists. Your species would be responsible for addressing situations that exceed the capabilities of specialized approaches. And if we fail, dependency status with restricted expansion rights until your species develops more conventional specializations. Marcus thought about the billions of humans scattered across dozens of worlds. Engineers and technicians and mechanics and problem solvers who had spent their lives making impossible things work. People who fixed atmospheric processors with children's toys and mining equipment with cooking supplies. How many crises are we talking about? Architect Prime Zavhan consulted a display device. Current backlog includes 17 major emergencies across 11 sectors. Space station life support failures, colonial infrastructure breakdowns, trade route disruptions, environmental disasters, and technological malfunctions that have exceeded specialized response capabilities. Timeline: 1 standard galactic year for provisional evaluation. 12 months to demonstrate consistent adaptive synthesis capabilities across multiple crisis types. Marcus felt the weight of his species' future settling on his shoulders again. But this time, it felt different. This time, he wasn't alone. This time, he was representing people who specialized in making things work when they weren't supposed to. "I accept on behalf of humanity," he said firmly. The chamber erupted in what Marcus assumed was approval, though the sounds ranged from harmonic chiming to mechanical grinding to organic roaring. Representatives from dozens of species seemed to be expressing excitement, anticipation, or at least curious interest. Zethara's form brightened to near blinding intensity. "The decision is recorded. Humanity is granted provisional council membership as emergency response specialists. Human Marcus Chen, you will return to your people and establish coordination protocols with the Nexus Collective." "Actually," Marcus said, raising his voice over the continuing discussion, "I have a request." The chamber quieted again. "I want to stay here and start immediately. Send word to humanity about our new status. But let me begin working on the current crisis backlog. The sooner we start proving ourselves, the better." Architect Prime Zavhan's glowing eyes seemed to brighten with approval. "Human Chen, the first emergency is on Sigma Draconis III. Colonial atmospheric processors are failing due to unexpected soil chemistry interactions. 200,000 beings from 8 species require immediate assistance. How soon can we get there?" "Transport departs in 4 hours." Marcus grinned, feeling the familiar surge of excitement that came with a new impossible problem to solve. "Then, let's get to work." As the council session dissolved into planning discussions and logistics coordination, Marcus found himself surrounded by representatives from multiple species. The Melody wanted to discuss harmonic synthesis applications, the Zephyrians offered logistical support networks, the Vorthak proposed analytical collaboration protocols. Even the Korthak expressed interest in tactical coordination possibilities. For the first time since leaving Kepler 442b, Marcus felt like he was exactly where he belonged. Not because he was the best at any particular thing, but because he was good at bringing different capabilities together to solve problems that no one could handle alone. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but as the species that could fix things when they broke in ways nobody expected. As he prepared for his first official crisis response mission, Marcus thought about his fellow humans scattered across the stars, engineers and mechanics and technicians and problem solvers who would soon have the chance to prove what he'd always known. When something was broken and everyone said it couldn't be fixed, humans found a way. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the best solution wasn't the most sophisticated one. Sometimes, it was the one that actually worked, and humans were very good at making things work.